But you'll also notice that you are strategically placed. Strategically placed. Why are you here? Notice what he says. Peter, an apostle of Jesus Christ, to those who reside as strangers, scattered throughout these places, we have no idea where they are. I could show you on a map. Right there in the Middle East, he's naming cities that were very apparent to the place where they lived. They would have been well aware of these places that we probably could not find on a map. But he's talking to people who reside as strangers, scattered throughout. Now, depending on your translation, again, that word stranger, it literally means sojourner. They were strategically placed in the world, scattered for a purpose, scattered as strangers, scattered as a people living in hostile territory. Now, let me give you some context to try to make this make more sense. On July the 16th, in the year of our Lord 79 AD, a madman whose name was Nero, emperor of Rome, burned part of the city of Rome. Now, he meant to burn the slums, the worst part of the city, and his intention was to rebuild them. He wanted to build, he was an egomaniac. He wanted to build monuments to himself to increase the glory and the aesthetic of Rome, do it for his glory and his honor. So he was going to burn the slums, but they didn't have modern fire trucks back then, and the fire got out of control, and most of the city of Rome was burnt to the ground. And it didn't have the reaction that Nero thought it would have, because the people, those very people that lost their homes, turned on Nero. And they wanted his head because of what he was experiencing. And so he needed a scapegoat. He needed to blame this fire on someone or something. And some of his advisors came to him and said, hey, we've got this newfound sect, this cult. They call themselves Christians, and they meet underground, and they have this ceremony they're calling the Lord's Supper, and they're pretending that they're drinking blood, and they're eating a body, and they're talking about a judgment with fire, and all these crazy things. Why don't we say those people, those vile people, that cult, they set fire to Rome? And Nero said, that sounds like a great idea. And that's exactly what they did. And in 79 AD, it became open season on Christians. Many more of them were nailed to crosses. Josephus recounts how many of them were placed on spikes and set on fire as human candles to illuminate the night in Nero's gardens for his wild parties and banquets. Many of them were dressed in animal skins and kicked out into the woods so they could be hunted for sport. They were scattered throughout the known Roman Empire. But they were also scattered as a seed. You see, in the New Testament that you're reading, that word scattered is a word you might have heard of. It's the word diaspora. And it literally means the scattering, the sowing. It makes you think of a farmer scattering or sowing the seed in his field. And so when he's saying that the Christians then were scattered through this diaspora into the known world, they weren't simply scattered as strangers. They were the seed of Christianity through these horrible events that were going to carry the message of Jesus to a lost and dying world. They were scattered for a purpose, to carry his message to everywhere. That's why you can read the words of Luke in Acts chapter 8 and verse 4. It says, therefore those who had been scattered went through the places preaching the word. You see, a seed not meant to rot in a barn. Seeds are not meant to rot in a church. We as Christians, we have a business in this world. Now, we've been saved out of it. We have something better than this world, but we are sent into it, scattered throughout it, so that we might witness to it. That's the only business we have today with the world. Sharing Jesus to a lost and dying people. We're to be in the world, but we're not to be part of it. You are a foreigner, a stranger, a sojourner in this world. It is not your native land, and you should march to the beat of a different drum. You see, this is something many people do not understand. Christians are not citizens of earth trying to make their way to heaven. At the moment of salvation, we are citizens of glory, sojourning on the earth. Sent here with a purpose, and that purpose is to share Jesus in every way we can. You could flip over a page. You could go to 1 Peter chapter 2. Notice what he says in verse 11. Beloved, I urge you as foreigners and strangers, sound familiar? To abstain from fleshly lust, which wage war against the soul. So in chapter 1, he calls them strangers. Chapter 2, they're strangers and pilgrims. And what is the mark? What is the difference? Abstain from fleshly lusts, which wage war against the soul. You see, you are a twice-born people living amongst a once-born world. We are to live a separated life. If you don't, and if you try to make a home in this world, you are always going to be frustrated because the world wages a war against the soul. Now, we've talked about that before. What is the soul? It is the psyche. It is against you, yourself, your choice, your decision, your mind, the person who you are. If you are trying to make a habitat in this world, you are always going to be divided amongst yourself. But no, God put us here for a purpose, as a stranger, as a pilgrim, as a sojourner, to function as seed, spreading the gospel of Jesus.